This is Sybert signing in to Red Alert 3 on the map Industrial Strength, but I am not alone. I'm with Mexican. How you doing, man?
Good. How about you, Sybert?
I'm doing pretty well. I've had my coffee, I've had a good day, and now I'm finishing it off with some Red Alert 3 dual casting. However, in the bottom left corner of Industrial Strength, the Yellow Allies player, it's mates Vindies.
And we have on the right the Russian madman, Dimon.
Representing himself. He still hasn't, like, jumped inside of a clan or anything.
No, not yet.
Maybe one day he will join the legions of others.
Maybe.
So Vindies, right out of the gate, I mean, it's a best-of-7 series, so he does have a couple of games to give, but right out of the gate, rushing to an airfield, going a little bit cheesy, a little bit aggressive.
And we have Dimon doing dual racks.
Very true. He's going to be able to get those engineers into buildings before the Vindicator can actually hunt them down. Should be able to secure the oil derricks in due time.
And Vindies possibly could be doing a fast cryo. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he got the first of the refineries, so he's not doing anything super crazy like what Yui used to do with hardcore one refinery turret pushes or stuff like that.
He has 3 Vindies so far. He's just bomb splitting those conscripts.
And he does have to kill quite a large number of conscripts for the Vindicators to be cost effective. The nice thing for Dimon in this situation is he's buying himself a lot of time regardless, so he's going to be able to get both of these oil derricks. He's going to be able to move his MCV over towards that third base or that third refinery.
Yeah, he's actually doing pretty well right now as far as time goes.
Yeah, there's still quite a few conscripts just streaming across the map, and Vindies, he's going to have to deal with these at some point. I mean, yeah, he can build a lot of walls. He's now going to be getting a barracks out.
Yeah, he has that racks out right there.
Yeah, hasn't actually... Okay, the first dog actually does come out of it. Gets a pretty nice bark off, locks down a lot of the conscripts, but the second dog is probably going to be a bit more troublesome for Dimon to deal with.
And if you didn't see, Vindies sent 3 of the Vindies to kill one of the power plants on the top right from Dimon.
Oh, nice. Puts him into low power mode, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Just enough. Conscripts continuing to stand strong, pushing back against the Peacekeepers, and there's even a bear mixed in here for Dimon. Not going to be that useful right now.
And we see that Vindies is already on tier 2, so I want to say that cryos are coming.
Oh yeah, he did indeed take the time to tech up. He still hasn't dealt with the conscripts at his front, but once that cryocopter is out, it's going to give him so much utility to use it with the Vindicators.
And then he just used the Vindicators to kill another power plant by that war factory.
Yeah, he's continuing to just lock down the infrastructure of Dimon. First cryocopter is now out. It's heading immediately across the field. Could be going for the kind of nearest harvester. Of course, in low power mode, Dimon doesn't have a whole lot here to deal with that cryocopter.
True. And it looks like all the conscripts are almost about to get into Vindies' main base. We'll see.
He just continues to build more and more walls to deal with this. Flak cannon is back online, back inside of Dimon's base, and it's going to be eating away at the... Wow, that cryocopter escapes with barely any HP, and there's the thaw going to be coming down on top of that harvester.
And Dimon's back on low power.
He did manage to get the sell-off on that reactor, and he's got the second one started just to replace that. Eventually, with these bullfrogs, he may have enough defense to get a reasonable number of power plants up.
Yeah, and he's already into Vindies' main base.
Yeah, these conscripts are now going to be a clear and present danger that Vindies needs to deal with. He's bought himself a little bit more time with the walls, but as you can see, those have been all torn through now, and the airfield is starting to take some direct damage. The first dog gets out once again. A nice roar does get off, locking down a fair number of the conscripts.
Yeah, good little roar. We'll see if he uses his MCV as a defense as well. Looks like it's stuck right now.
Ooh, yeah, a little bit of a problem there, getting stuck on it. Looks like the terrain. The multi-gunner turret was a nice idea, but the conscripts Molotov cocktails making short work of that, able to eliminate that defensive structure quite easily. Dimon, I mean, he's now completely unpressured.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's far ahead for sure.
And he's bought himself He's bought himself so much time to do whatever he wants, and now that Vindies has actual units inside of his base, he can't just always run off and do free damage.
Yeah, and he already killed one of Vindies with those bullfrogs, but Vindies still has 3 and that cryo.
A couple of peacekeepers inside of the main base of Vindies should be enough with this MCV, depending on if he actually gets any crushes. Nope, the conscripts do once again get pulled back. Vindies trying to find the appropriate angles, and Dimon wants to end the game early.
He's already talking trash.
Yeah, that's the other kind of strategy that you can go for, is just like, maybe if I tell my opponent how far of him I am ahead, then he'll just leave.
Yeah. This is pretty bad, though. I mean,
I've seen allies do some pretty wonderful things with cryocopters, but yeah, this is looking very difficult for Vindies.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to do a push now.
Does he have much of an option? I don't know if he can. He could try to play this out the long game. He could try to macro out of this, try to take a 3rd refinery, something like that. But I don't know that that would work. Maybe his only option really is something drastic like a turret push.
Yeah, but I don't know what's going to happen here. We'll see.
MiG's going to be coming in, and a couple of Javelin troopers streaming into this kind of battle. One of them is actually inside of the civilian structure doing a fair bit of damage.
Yeah, that was a really good idea. But now here comes Dimon with conscripts.
Oh man, if Vindies can get a little bit of clearance, and then he gets one of his magical spy captures, that's he's going to need something like that, where Dimon really just hands him a bit of a victory.
He killed all those bullfrogs, actually.
Cleans pretty much everything up. This hammer tank gets engaging with one of the peacekeepers while taking damage from Vindicators and a Javelin trooper, so Dimon continuing to stream out units, but they're mostly conscripts.
Yeah, that was a very great defense by Vindies.
Oh, Satellite's going to be getting called down. They're not actually going to be impacting anything at all. Not a big deal. Unfortunately for Vindies, the civilian structure has been taken over by Dimon, and he really doesn't have the units to clear that out at this point.
No, not at all. But he still has his cryo and Vindies. Oh, let's see what happens with that TD.
He's trying to go for some sort of infected, just gets cleaned up by the Vindicators. MiG trying to run defense for this force, but actually the only thing that will kill is the cryocopter. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, Vindies, when he's on this few units and this low of an army, he needs absolutely every unit that he can get. Losing something as crucial as the cryocopter is not good. GG comes out offensively from Dimon. And then
the
Vindies,
shit talk
GG.
is
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, the trash talk. Dimon is not wanting to give these games up, and he said he was ready to bash before the game, and it seems like he is backing that up.
So we have 1-0 to Dimon.
Yep, that'll do it. Any final thoughts on this game?
You know what? I think Vindies relies on this strategy too much, and he always leaves himself open for harassment. I thought Dimon did a really good job with that dual racks, continuing to spam out those conscripts and keeping Vindies busy in his base with those conscripts was basically what won Dimon the game, in my opinion.
Very good analysis. We're going to be jumping into game number 2 just after this. And welcome to game number 2 of this best of 7 on Temple Prime Tournament Edition. On the right side, our Blue Soviets up 1-0. This is Dimon.
And we have on the left side, the Allies player, Mates Vindies, down 0-1.
He's opened up racks at the very least, so we're seeing something slightly different. As you mentioned, he does go for fast airfield, those heavy airfield-based strats that are often very aggressive. He does go for those a lot, so maybe it is good to switch it up.
Yeah, definitely. And since a lot of people notice that he goes fast airfield, probably just used to what he's going to do now. And maybe that's what Dimon did. He already adapted to the fast airfield build.
Which is good to see, considering this is going to be a best-of-7 series. Coming in with a plan for your opponent specifically is definitely a good idea.
And we see both players pretty even right now. nothing big has happened. It looks like Vindies is going to get that oil up top
Mm-hmm.
at the same time that Diamond is going to get the oil south.
Yeah, so they're both going for opposite oil derricks. Naval Yard should be coming down for Vindies. He's most likely going to be, unless he's pooling up these, you know, Javelin Troopers and Engineers near the water for a different reason, but should be going for that Riptide. And then, of course, this is the Grinder League. This is the boss, who is Vindies, and he has been the boss for quite some time by a long stretch, the longest reigning boss, and I believe at this time he is completely undefeated as boss. So there's a lot on the line for Dimon. Of course, the boss does receive a prize at the end of the season, and then some other players will receive prizes as well in the Grinder League.
And here, just what you predicted, we have that Riptide with the jabs.
Going to be heading out. So he's packing one up with jabs. The other one will have some Peacekeepers and an Engineer for the Southern Oil Derrick capture. He's also moving his MCV out. I'm not actually sure. Is this going to be an expansion or maybe something more aggressive?
I think he wants to take middle for sure.
And just sort of plop his MCV down to stake his claim?
Yeah, and I think he's going to use, maybe, but I think he's going to use those jabs to kill the middle hut as well.
I see. Have you hit a bit of a lag spike as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But looks like we're good right now.
Yeah, I mean, the game seems to be running fine other than that.
Yeah, and he did what I thought he was going to do.
Yeah, laser locking all 5 of the Javelin Troopers onto that temple in the middle. Takes it down really quite quickly. A couple of conscripts inside of there, and Dimon, he was trying to go for the bear. He was trying to go for the roar to lock down those Javelin Troopers, but to no avail. And
they're exchanging oils now.
Yeah, almost at the exact same time as well. They're going to be grabbing each other's oils, and it's a little bit annoying for both of them.
Yeah, but keeps it even.
Very true. We've got 5 Riptides moving out for Vindies. He's kind of poised to potentially move in and start doing some damage. There's a couple of terror drones and hammer tanks down on the low ground. Potentially, Dimon might be able to force an engagement.
And he's still on tier 1, Vindies that is, while Diamond is tier 2.
Yeah, in these past 2 games, Dimon going to be teching up quite a bit more quickly. Third base also on the way for Dimon. It is just now going to be planted for Vindies as well. So the third refinery timings are relatively similar.
Yeah, but again, Diamond is at tier 2, while Vindies is still tier 1.
Indeed. Conscript fired up onto the high ground, going to be giving that vision and a little bit of information to Dimon as he's going to be heading upstairs with those hammer tanks.
And now Vindies is, oh, he was tier 2. I don't know if he still is. Yeah, he's tier 2 now. So, probably expect to see some cryo soon.
Yeah, he's managed to survive this long. He secured himself the 3rd refinery, and he does have a healthy number of Javelin Troopers inside of these Riptides. So he does have a pretty good anti-tank army as long as his control is good and he doesn't get crushed.
And here comes that cryo.
Going to be locking down one of the tanks really quite quickly. Of course, the bears need to be dealt with before the Riptides can unload the infantry. The only Bullfrog on the front lines gets frozen down pretty much immediately, and the hammer tanks going to be once again getting shrunk so that the Riptides can deal with them a lot more easily.
Yep, and Diamond has absolutely no AA for that.
A little bit of a problem. You bring only 1 Bullfrog to the front lines, and it doesn't take much for a single cryocopter to lock it down.
And we also see that Diamond took the bottom oil now, too.
Very sneaky of him. At the very least, he got that, but that engagement seemed to very heavily favor Vindies.
Definitely, because now it forced Diamond to build Bullfrogs. So he has no tanks at the moment.
He's had to switch completely over to try to rebuild that anti-air. He is actually moving forward. I don't know how I feel. If he ends up getting caught a little bit out of position, I mean, there is 3 cryocopters out on the field. He needs to keep that AA alive.
And he has twins out on the floor, too, by his base.
Yeah, Twin Blade's finally going to be coming into the play as well. He's packed up his MCV, Dimon, that is, has packed up his MCV once again. He's going to be heading out to the water expansion to potentially take a 4th refinery.
And Vindy still has control of middle, and he's able to get 4 refs pretty soon too.
So it's actually going to be 4 ref versus 4 ref, but with cryocopters, Vindies can have such incredibly cost-effective engagements. No MiGs out just yet. All of the Bullfrogs have been shrunk down with Javelin Troopers here running defense for these cryocopters. Ew, the 1 MiG that was produced just gets locked down instantly.
And he was trying to go for that super reactor right now.
Yeah, fortunately, the barracks are going to be body blocking for the super reactor. Twin Blades are going to be coming in, trying to focus fire down on the Javelin Troopers and eliminate them. Forces this sell-off just before it blows up.
Yeah, that was a good move, actually.
Dimon not going to let that explode, but the MiG is now going to be putting out a fair amount of DPS onto these cryocopters. Javelin Troopers do manage to survive against the attacks of the Twin Blades for a little bit longer, and the Bullfrogs, which have now been unshrunk, are back onto the front lines.
And so far, all of this is favoring Vindies. He's now 4 refs.
That's true. While Dimon was moving over towards that 4 ref, as you mentioned, he had to use the barracks, eating up that primary build queue, not really being able to do anything other than that, and he was worried about running defense. Now he's worried about rebuilding. He needs that super reactor back online.
Yeah, so that's going to take a while to build.
And it's like 2,000 credits as well, so it's the same cost as a refinery, but he's just getting back to Tier 2.
Right, and now he's about to do a little harassing in Vindies' main base.
Yeah, fortunately for Dimon, Vindies' MCV is pretty far away, so there won't be any multi-gunner turrets dropping down just yet, but Vindies is mobilizing to deal with this.
So he took out 1 harvester from Vindies. And right now we see that Vindies is also counterattacking with 2 cryos.
Yeah, the 2 cryos going to allow Vindies to clean up those harvesters extremely easily, and of course Soviet harvesters are $400 more than the Allied harvesters, so there's an even bigger weight on Dimon's shoulders to actually do more damage.
True.
Apollo and MiG going to be facing off. Of course, the Apollo getting the first shots off, going to be winning that. Both of the harvesters of Vindies in the main have been cleaned up, and now the 3rd refinery harvester is getting targeted by these Twin Blades.
Yeah, Vindies, besides that, what, 2 Apollos now. That's the only AA he has. Now 1 Apollo.
Yeah, he did actually manage to squeeze out another Apollo back at home, but it's getting targeted down by the Bullfrogs. It does get eliminated before it is able to kill off either of the Twin Blades. Back in Dimon's base, though, a couple of Javelin Troopers are running absolute rampant inside of his main, going to be targeting down the War Factory while the Peacekeepers deal with the reactor.
Beautiful.
Really nice moves. These are expensive infrastructure buildings that are being targeted down by Vindies. Dimon is in absolute shambles. He's using one of his ore collectors, bringing it off the line to try to deal with this Javelin Trooper.
And now he's only down to 1 working refinery, which is that one by the sea.
Oh, the little island expansion is the only one that hasn't been touched. Twin Blade's going to be coming back in.
It looks like he's going to kill that super reactor.
Oh.
Yep.
A nice move by Vindies, barely gets it before the Twin Blades actually finish cleaning up the rest of the Javelin Troopers, but this is so much damage done by Vindies.
Yeah, it looks like this game is over.
They say it's not over till it's over, but certainly, much like the last game, Dimon is going to have one heck of an uphill battle.
And now he has absolutely no units besides those twins.
Yep, and it's not going to be that hard for Vindies to just pump out a couple of Apollos to deal with that. Now, the airfield did have to be sold off. A naval yard is going to be constructed by Dimon up in the top right corner, but as you mentioned, there really isn't a lot of options left on the table for Dimon.
And then he's about to lose his collector right now.
Oh, GG gets called. Dimon has been defeated, and that ties us up 1-1. We have a series on our hands.
Much better gameplay from Vindies.
For sure. Better sort of opening build. And then, of course, we saw that signature solid Vindies control using Riptides and a lot of infantry to do untold amounts of damage.
Yeah, definitely a good start to this series.
I'm definitely looking forward to game number 3. Let's jump right into it. All right, welcome to Game 3. Infinity Isle is the map, and once again spawning on the right side, our yellow Soviet player. This is Dimon.
And we have on the left the mate's representative, allied player Vindies.
Going to be a little bit of mate's bias going on in this game, I suppose. Can we trust you, Messican, to not be too biased?
Of course.
I mean, in game number 1, you did call it like you saw it. You were like, nope, Vindies is dead, so I don't think we have to worry about that. But just in case there's any chatter or prattle from people. Ooh, Dimon messing up that roar.
And I'm surprised Vindies didn't spam dogs like he always does. Sometimes he goes 10 dogs. But so far right now, just standard.
Ooh.
Standard play.
Nice kill by Dimon, going to be able to lock down the dogs that came down the ramp. Messican, as a Soviet player, how do you feel about Infinity Isle versus Allies? Because from what I've heard, a lot of people think in this matchup it favors Allies.
Well, once the Allies player gets the ridge, I mean, it's pretty much hard to stop an Allies player. But I think this map is even. I honestly think this map is even. The only problem is Sovs are the hardest faction as a whole to micro. And I think Allies, just their air, is the hardest to micro.
Very possibly true. I'm not going to speak too much about that because, of course, there could be a discussion for absolute ever about which faction, which merits of which faction are the best. However, as you mentioned, Vindies does oftentimes like to go for very heavy dog usage on this map. In this particular case, he did pump out a fair number of Peacekeepers, and a lot of times this is what we see, the kind of early infantry wars on Infinity Isle, both guys trying to gain some sort of map presence and awareness.
Yeah, and so far it looks pretty even right now. Nothing's favoring one person over the other, although we do see there's one Vindie on the field, and there's also one Bullfrog on the field.
They had their early exchanges, and like you mentioned, it pretty much evened out. There was a little bit of killing on both sides. And yeah, that Vindicator going to be giving some nice utility to Vindies. Bullfrogs are now out, 2 of them out on the field. Third one is going to be popping out just now.
And Vindies already has a cryo out.
Ooh, so he went pretty fast tier 2.
Yeah, and this is actually looking pretty good for him because Dimon has his Bullfrogs in the middle. So
on the north side, yeah, he's going to be going immediately for that Harvester. Should be able to get the kill. I mean, regardless, once the Bullfrogs get over here, they're going to be shooting at the Cryocopter first. The Vindicators. Oh! Vindies messed that up.
Oh, man, that's going to cost him.
He's even going to be almost... He loses the Cryocopter.
He does.
What a mess up. Now in the middle of the map, Bear's going to be coming in, firing off that roar, going to be able to take down a lot of these Peacekeepers with the help of the sickle.
That is definitely costing Vindies the match so far right now.
Wow. In just like a single moment, he switched targets from the Harvester to the Bullfrog, and that basically spelled, I don't know about defeat, but it certainly spelled disaster for Vindies.
Yeah, definitely, because now he's down when it comes to defending. He has to defend now instead of attack.
He has to defend while Bullfrogs are camping his airfield, and
right.
As allies, one of the worst things that you can have happen is when you're going for, heavy airfield base play like Vindies does. You've already sunk the tier 2, and the cost into the Cryocopter is to have your airfield be camped and become completely useless.
And we see that in response, he has a naval yard, but it's going to be a little slow.
So does he just go straight Riptides? Oh, I guess he does. I was going to ask if maybe he mixes in some Assault Destroyers, but he's packed up his MCV, so he can't get Assault
Destroyers are too slow.
Very true, and against Terror Drones, they generally have trouble. There was a Terror Drone, it's actually being utilized to lock down one of the Prospectors over by the middle, and some nice micro going to be coming out from Dimon, locking down both the Riptide and the MCV, which are 2 of the units that have the most use for Vindies right now.
Definitely, and it looks like right now...
Ooh.
Oh. That wasn't planned, but okay.
Just jumps right into the MCV, like, all right, I'll take the free kill if you really want to give it to me.
And,
So on the back end, Dimon, he's got up his third refinery, he's got up his tier 2 as well, and he's starting to pump out those hammer tanks. kind of more interestingly, is the naval yard and the 4th refinery that are now on the way.
Exactly, and he managed to kill Vindies' oil as well.
Super annoying. Vindies would have liked to have that additional income as he's moving forward. Vindies trying to move forward on the map as well, but unfortunately that Terror Drone is just being a little bit too much trouble for him.
And here comes a cryo right now.
So Vindies reestablishing that Tier 2 link on his airfield. Bullfrog's going to be stepping forward, taking some shots at that cryocopter, but the shrink was used on the hammer tank. Dimon doesn't actually have that many additional units here because he's been investing so much in the infrastructure out on the water.
Yeah, and it looks like right now he's going to be able to harass.
Oh, I think a Terror Drone was spawned, but it must have gotten sniped pretty much immediately. Four Riptides rolling into the base of Dimon, and goodbye number 1 Harvester.
And there's no AA out for Dimon.
The nice thing for Dimon is out on the water. He's got an Akula sub. He does force the sell-off of both the refinery and the naval yard of Vindies.
Yep.
But as you mentioned, no anti-air to deal with this cryocopter. The first
There's
Bullfrog
one
is going to be... Yeah, it rolls out right there, but he's only got 1.
Let's see if he makes maybe an airfield. No, not yet. Nothing.
He does need to run some sort of crisis management for this situation. He's trying to keep his first Bullfrog alive. He's got a second one now, so at least the Shrink Ray won't be quite as effective.
And Vindies has already managed to kill 2 of his collectors. Now a 3rd one.
Ooh. GG
Ooh.
Comes down!
Wow, nice comeback.
And Vindies, not quite from the brink of defeat, but again, certainly from a bad situation, making the comeback.
Most definitely. And I guess Dimon didn't make enough Bullfrogs after all.
He didn't. He was ahead, and then he just was like, I'm going to get more ahead by going for that refinery extremely quickly. I mean, he was getting the naval yard, he was getting the Akula sub, and the refinery. That's a lot of money being dumped into things that don't actually deal with the Riptide Cryocopter combination that was closing down on him.
And he was up 4 reps.
Yeah, he was doing quite well, but any final thoughts before we jump into game number 4?
Just that cryocopters are OP, that is all.
Welcome to Battle Base Delta, and spawning in the top right corner, our green Soviets presently down 1-2. He needs your cheers. This is Dimon!
And we have on the left the yellow mates representative Vindies as a racks opening for both players.
Very true. And of course, since this is Battle Base Delta, we don't have the 2 buildings in the middle. So, I mean, Allies player, they can open up racks if they really want to. There's quite a few other structures on the map as far as civilian structures go. So there is still that kind of problem of sometimes a Soviet player just sticks conscripts in every building, and then you know that you're going to have to use peacekeepers to clear them out.
And I'm not really too familiar with this map, so I'm actually looking around to familiarize myself with it.
It is a quite interesting map. I know some players dislike the double garage that are on it, and certainly it can be a very powerful addition to a Soviet player just because they don't normally have those repairs. And Dimon, I mean, he's going to go immediately for that garage, and if he decides to play to the map to really be like, all right, I know this map has garages, I am going to use that to my advantage, then he could come out swinging with some very hard to deal with vehicle-based play.
Definitely. And again, it looks like Vindies is going to do those Rip Jab, PK, NG combo.
Seemingly like one of his favorite things to do. He loves cryocopters, and then he loves Riptides and infantry.
Yep, definitely. And not just versus Soviets, but also versus empires.
Yeah, he does play a somewhat similar style. There are differences between the way he plays versus Empire and the way he plays versus Soviets, but there are some certain crossover and similarities.
Definitely. And it's funny that both of those strategies are just as effective.
I mean, it is very true. Like, infantry are just good in Red Alert 3. Of course, they can be crushed, which is the downside to them, but I know the devs talked about one of the reasons that infantry are so good is because they wanted them to actually be useful in multiple stages of the game, not just early game.
Right.
And then, you know, some people think that Allies have the best units. Other people think that it's Soviets, but... Or, excuse me, Empire. I don't know if anyone thinks that Soviets have the best infantry. The Terror Drone Infect on this MCV is really quite nice from Dimon.
Yeah, definitely. It puts Vinny's back, and good thing that he did not sell his naval yard, or else it would have been over.
Yeah, losing your MCV that early when all you've got is a Tier 1 naval yard, or, I mean, when you don't have a naval yard would be absolutely devastating. In this case, Vindy's going to be pushing forward. Now, he does have the garage. He's going to be grabbing the oil derrick, but those are two structures that Dimon has had for quite a bit longer.
Right, and he has those hammer tanks, too.
Yeah, he did go Tier 2 pretty much immediately after getting his War Factory, and he's going to be pushing forward. Of course, Javelin Trooper's going to be popping on out. We'll be able to target down one of the hammer tanks really quite quickly, and the Bears are back behind the army, so they're not necessarily going to be able to get on top of these Javelin Troopers as quickly as they would like to. A nice roar does go off, locking down every Javelin Trooper. Yeah,
he was able to get those jabs, and now Vinny's is on the retreat. Maybe he might have to play a little bit more defensive.
He needs to figure out a way to deal with this army, but at the same time, Dimon is going to be moving forward with his economy. He drops down that third refinery over on the right side of the map.
That's true.
He's going to be ahead on the eco, and considering he killed off a fair number of jabs, even if he... Well, I'm assuming he's going to lose this hammer tank, but even when he loses the hammer tank, this attack is probably still worth it.
Oh yeah, it was definitely very cost-effective for Dimon.
Yeah, he did a lot of damage, and unfortunately, Vindies, like you talked about, that infect from the Terror Drone set him back pretty far, and maybe he would have had cryocopters, maybe he would have had another opportunity if his MCV hadn't been infected.
And it looks like Vindies is still on Tier 1.
Yeah, he drops the airfield and walls it up pretty much immediately. He may be going for Tier 2 now, but again, this is giving Dimon a lot of time to deal with this.
Yeah, we see that Tier 2 now, so I assume he's going to use that Riptide Infantry Cryo combination to try and deal with Dimon.
It would be a smart move. He needs something that's very cost-effective to deal with a Soviet player that has repairs. Another hammer tank going to be coming down for Dimon. He's looking to put on more hurt to Vindies, and Dimon knows that he can be pretty darn effective with just a few vehicles.
Yeah, and it looks like that hammer tank's about to get killed right now and shrunk.
Oh, a nice cleanup there from Vindies.
But the TD surprise got the collector anyway.
Oh, and the naval yard has already been sold off, so that is very unfortunate for Vindies. He's going to be bringing down a Riptide to kill off the Terror Drone, and then he restarts the Harvester pretty quickly, so that is some lost mining time.
Yep, and Diamond's already over there making his fourth ref.
Once again expanding while he's putting pressure on Vindies. Now, Vindies is starting to turn the pressure around, and these two Bullfrogs, they're getting some really nice damage out on this Cryocopter, and they will take it down. That's a crucial piece of the army now missing.
Yep, it looks like Diamond definitely has an advantage right now, and another TD surprise on that Riptide.
He's played this game out very well, is going to clean up the rest of the Javelin Troopers as well, and there isn't very much to kill off tanks for Vindies.
Yeah, and Vindies has been playing a defensive game pretty much the whole game.
Ever since that MCV, in fact, yeah, he's been forced to. Now, as you mentioned, the fourth refinery from Dimon, it's up and running, but he's also built a couple of extra engineers to grab the oil derrick and the garage of Vindies, adding insult to injury.
Definitely, and Sobs are looking really good with the dual garage.
I'm assuming the repair doesn't stack, but oh man, can you imagine if the repair did stack? Just be so OP.
I actually don't know about that, but it would be crazy.
It had better not. Like, if the devs actually designed Red Alert 3 to have stacking repair like that, that would be the silliest thing.
Yeah, I don't know if, unless any of our viewers know if that's possible, but that would be interesting. And I don't know if you noticed, but Vindies just put in a spy in one of those Riptides.
I did not see that at all. That was something that I completely missed, so that's one of those things that he has been kind of known for. It's not like he does it every single game, but it's certainly one of the cases where I actually saw Vindies replay and I was like, okay, I'm going to remember this guy's name.
And he has it on that very left one.
Oh, the one that just got locked down by the terror drone. It's out in front. And the Peacekeeper that was... Oh, wow, he just lost that Riptide.
Yep, and that was a Riptide that had the spy engine.
That is a very expensive Riptide. Even the MCV being brought off the line. The Cryocopter being shot down by the MiG. And this is 5, no 6 hammer tanks right here that Vindies has to deal with. Well, there's the GG coming down for Vindies.
Yeah, so now it's tied 2-2.
It's tied 2-2, and there was just a couple of things. Again, if they had gone a bit differently, that game would have been completely changed.
Yeah, that TD made the difference in the beginning.
And then, of course, that small advantage that Dimon had, he just played smart. He pushed in and did a bit of damage earlier, and then after that, he kind of held back, played a little bit defensive until he was, until he had done enough damage, killed off that, I think it was the first Cryocopter that came out, where Vindies tried to push out and do some damage, and then once that Cryocopter went down, Dimon was like, all right, I'm pushing back in again.
Yeah, it was a very good, aggressive play from Dimon, for sure.
All right, let's jump into game number 5. On Fire Island, and in the top right corner, this is Dimon, evening things up 2-2.
And we have the purple Vindies on the bottom left.
Representing teammates, and as we were talking about in between the games, Vindies is almost undefeated as boss in terms of map score. I'm not actually sure what the statistics are, but Messican was just bringing up that Vindies has got like some ridiculous map score of like 15-1.
Yeah, as a GBH challenged him, I believe.
At least twice, maybe 3 times.
Yeah, I want to say 3 times. And right now, the Bear Micro was in favor of Dimon. He already killed 2 dogs.
Yeah, I mean, one of them gets shot up by the conscript, but overall, a better engagement, a better opening for Dimon. I don't know that that's necessarily too much we can draw from, but Vindies does actually get the kill in the south, and Dimon is like, OMG, can't believe that he lost that bear.
And again, he's going for that Riptide, NG, Jab, PK build.
This map doesn't have any garages, so we can definitely look for maybe a little bit more success on Fire Island with this sort of a push. Of course, he's going double engineer. He will be able to grab both of those oil derricks most likely. But Dimon, oh, he's actually only going 1 engineer, so Vindies will get the cash back on one of the oil derricks.
Yeah, and it looks like he's about to scout that Rip Jab combination right now with that bear.
Yeah, he's got the bear moving, and I'm not actually sure if he was able to see it. However, he's going to be able to run through the base. He's like, all right, you've got no airfield, you've got no extra production facilities on the kind of front line, so you probably went for that naval yard.
And then he's about to get the 2 oils first. He has an NG in that Bullfrog, just in case you missed it.
Oh, I did. So he did actually build the second engineer. That's very nice for Dimon. He's going to get the cash back from both of those, start making that money. And, of course, that just denies it for Vindies. The Terror Drone is also here, which I don't know if it'll actually be close enough. But, yeah, I think... Oh, this is going to be weird. Okay, so Vindies just turns around. He doesn't want to chance it.
And I think he's going to put his MCV between his 3rd ref and Dimon's 3rd ref.
Oh, wow, this is so annoying to deal with as a Soviet player. Hammer tanks are now going to be rolling out on the map, so it was Super Reactor after after the 2 refineries. He knew that, again, because he had that bear inside of Vindies' base, he knew he wasn't going to be playing up against airfield, and he could skip the early bullfrogs. Well, he did get the 1.
Yep, and then there's those Riptides. Oh.
Yeah, they're going to be crushing forward, looking for the kills, and unfortunately, one of the Riptides and a couple of Javelin Troopers going to be going down. Conscripts dealing some pretty nice damage with the help of that Terror Drone, going to be eliminating a couple of the Riptides as they go down, but the Barracks is now on the front line for Vindies. He's going to be able to pump out infantry to help him out, and he can't kill this Terror Drone. The nice control from Dimon just keeps it alive.
And see, now that Vindies has that middle spot, Dimon has to move to C.
Yeah, he can't possibly contend after Vindies has had so much time to build up. I mean, the multi-gunner turret is already down. He's got a barracks. Yeah. Not a good place for Dimon to be in. What is he going to be looking to do from here?
That I'm not sure, unless I don't know what. Oh, maybe he's gonna get that the third ref all the way in the top left of the map. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that just means his bullfrogs, if he's up against cryocopters, his bullfrogs are going to have to drive even further, and they've got that big range of mountains in between them, so it looks very much like he's taken the top left refinery, which is not something we see very often. There was an attempt at a peacekeeper, or excuse me, there was an attempt at a terror drone harass on the third refinery of Vindies, but it got cleaned up by a peacekeeper, so Dimon won't be able to harass quite that easily. I know there was an additional engineer built by Vindies. It looks like he maybe sent it over. Oh, he lost it?
Yeah, he lost it in one of those riptides. It had the NG and dabs in it.
Oh, the terror drone going to be going for the kill, but the riptide does protect it. There was a second engineer made, and a second additional engineer, I guess, which would be like the third engineer. So, yeah, Vindies, he's spent a lot of money to try to capture those oil derricks.
Yeah, but I mean, he got them.
He did get them. He's going to have to hold them for about a minute before they're actually paying for themselves. A little over a minute. A couple of riptides trying to look for a good angle of engagement, and a terror drone from Dimon going to be locking down one of the riptides, allowing it to get cleaned up by the hammer tanks.
And, it looks like Vindies doesn't have that many units out on the floor anyway.
Yeah, he moved to the middle, and then he ended up going tier 2 on the airfield, but he just doesn't have a lot of units, like you said.
He has those dual cryocopters, and he has a shrunken riptide, but Dimon's already making that anti-air on his refinery.
Yep, the flak cannon going to be finishing up momentarily, but these are pretty tanky cryocopters. They're going to be able to take a lot of damage from this first flak cannon. The bullfrogs will be running defense, though, and they're actually going to take a bit of damage from this riptide out on the water.
Yeah, he already killed one bullfrog.
Nice moves by Vindy, able to clean up that bullfrog, as you mentioned, but there is a second bullfrog now going to be joining them up, and Dimon, he's starting to push forward with the hammer tanks, but unfortunately for Dimon, Vindies just dropped a multi-gunner turret and sniped an engineer.
Yeah, I just missed that right now, but I saw.
And the hammer tanks moving forward. There isn't a whole lot here to run defense. Vindies may have to bring back the cryocopters.
Yeah, that would be the smart thing to do.
He's pulled his harvester off the line. He sent it over to the airfield so it can get repairs and hopefully survive a little bit longer. But the cryocopters now are going to be here. There's the shrink rays. Very nice. Going to be forcing the hammer tanks to run away.
And Diamond just lost his bullfrogs to that turret.
Oh, all three of them go down. OMFG comes out. Absolutely right. I mean, when you're up against triple cryocopter and you lose all of your bullfrogs.
That made the game right there.
Oh, I wonder if he just had him hotkeyed like with his hammer tanks, and then he sent his hammer tanks down, or oh, I don't know. But that was, yeah, that made the game. That one critical mistake from Dimon, sealing the victory for Vindies. And sometimes games are decided by really good outplaying control by one players, and sometimes it's decided by whoever makes the fewer mistakes. And in that case, that was certainly Vindies.
Yeah, and that was definitely a big mistake from Diamond.
Let's jump in to game number 6. Welcome to game number 6, Hard Lesson. This is where things come down to the wire, as it is match point for one of these players. But in the top right, our red Soviets. He made a critical mistake in that last game, but can he bring it back? This is Dimon.
And we have the left mate's allied player Vindies up 3-2.
3-2. He needs one more game to cinch it. He's been in this situation before in some different events where he's just 1 point away from that victory and can't quite make it happen. So we'll have to see, will Vindies continue his reign as the undefeated boss of the Red 3 Grinder League, or will he take his first loss?
We'll definitely find out sooner or later, but so far, everything is looking pretty promising.
Yeah, we're not seeing like super fast airfield out of Vindies. He's starting to wall up his second refinery, so it doesn't look like it's going to be a one refinery all-in turret push a la Yui Yui. Nothing like that.
Yeah, and I've never seen this map, but it looks pretty big.
It is pretty big, and of course, because you've got the double refineries in the bottom right and top left, it gives you that nice split dynamic. A lot of players do manage to secure the 3 refineries pretty easily, but taking your 4th and your 5th is a bit more challenging, as it is on most maps. And then you've got that kind of like direct path between your 3rd and your opponent's 3rd, but yeah, as you mentioned, it's a pretty big map.
Yeah, and if they were to go 4th and 5th refs, I would assume Dimon would take the top left and Vindies the top or the bottom right. Sorry.
Why would that be?
Because those can defend way easier than allies can. When it comes to, I mean, allied players can defend their C refs, and Soviets can't.
Interesting. Is it just because of the multi-gunner turrets being so useful?
And if they make the naval, they can repair, while Soviets
Oh, yeah.
for crane, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. So Dimon going fairly heavy infantry. He didn't go... well, he produced a fair amount of infantry. He didn't really go heavy infantry. But Vindies, as we've seen in the previous games, is going for those Riptides. Once again, he's going to be packing up his MCV and potentially heading over to that 3rd.
Yeah, and I think he could possibly... I think I've seen him play on this map once. He could possibly get that 3rd and then expand to tier 3, actually.
Very possibly. Yeah, this once you take that 3rd refinery, it becomes a little bit questionable as far as what's the best thing to do. For now, Vindies continuing to press forward with his Riptides. First Terror Drone going to be coming out for Dimon, and actually there's an engineer inside of one of these Riptides. He has to be careful about that. Doesn't want to lose it. But the bears have been cleaned up, and Dimon is being pushed back for now.
And Vindies also has that Vindies right there.
Yeah, the Vindicator going to be kind of staying behind. He of course doesn't want to step too far forward and get taken out by the bullfrogs.
And I don't know what Diamond's trying to do right now. He's barely moving his MCV, maybe to his 3rd expansion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I'm not sure exactly if he wants to go for something else. We do now have the airfield down for Vindies. He drops his 3rd refinery as well, so that's a fair bit ahead of the 3rd refinery of Dimon.
And it looks like that... Oh. Ooh, I thought he was going to take out that terror drone rather quickly, but I was mistaken. Looks like, yep, he lost his Vindies for nothing.
Wow, yeah, dropping down that 1,200 credits for basically no reason on the top, though. These these Javelin Troopers could have potentially turned around to do some damage to the hammer tanks on the low ground, but now the Engineer popping out from one Riptide, going to be heading to another one.
And then it looks like he's about to grab that oil derrick with the NG.
Yeah, he's going for Dimon's oil derrick, while Dimon trying to face off against these Javelin Troopers, but of course if he tries to go in for the crush, then they just jump inside of the Riptides, and makes it a bit harder for Dimon to do anything.
And he finally was able to get that oil.
Yeah, similarly, Dimon had grabbed Vindies oil a little bit earlier on, and actually, there might be a bunch of Javelin Troopers inside of this Riptide, so killing it would be a huge blow.
We're about to find out.
Oh.
Ooh, yep.
They eject out at pretty much the last second, but now they don't have anything going to be running defense for them against the hammer tanks. This is 5 Javelin Troopers, so they've got a lot of DPS, but if the hammer tanks get a good angle, they can go for the crush.
And Vindies is about to harass right now the 3rd ref with Cryo and Vindies.
He's moving in for the freeze. The bullfrogs are on pretty much the wrong side of the map, and this is going to be an easy harvester kill.
Yep. Bullfrogs are just too slow.
Especially when they're completely out of position. Another engineer gets produced by Dimon. I don't know if Vindies actually saw that, but if he did, he might be looking to snipe it. Okay, it jumps inside of one of the bullfrogs.
And Vindies used that Javelin Trooper to kill Diamond's oil on the left.
Oh, nice. Nice move by Vindies. Going to be cleaning up that economy. Bullfrog's getting some damage out on one of the Vindicators, but actually it does manage to escape for now. Bullfrog's once again trying to run defense for this hammer tank, and this one Guardian tank is actually going to be able to kill off that hammer quite nicely.
Yeah, that Guardian tank is doing good damage right now. Probably going to kill that Bullfrog. Yep.
Yeah, the other hammer tank ended up getting shrunk down, so it couldn't actually stick around for the fight. A bit unfortunate there. Vindies going to be pulling back. He did go for that armor facility, so he will have, you know, pretty consistent vehicle production on the 3 refineries plus the oil derrick. He's got that going for him. He drops down the additional power plant, and for now he's not going for a 4th refinery.
And right now, Dimon is about to grab that oil derrick.
These two guys and their oil derricks, both on Fire Island, on Temple Prime, and now even on this map, they're just trading them back so many times. And Dimon, once again, he's done this in some other games, but he just splits off conscripts almost every single part of the map. So he's got that map vision, he's got a little bit of presence and awareness. And
it's funny because the person who I can remember the most who loves taking oil derricks every single game is Eminence.
Interesting. I never actually noticed that about him. Javelin Trooper on the low ground going to be targeting down one of those civilian structures, but this is only 4 hammer tanks, and they're going to be tangoing against a couple of cryocopters and this allied force.
Yeah, and Dimon has no infantry to help.
It's kind of the missing piece of his unit composition. He doesn't have very good anti-air just because of the number of like Javelin Troopers and IFVs that are on the floor. His MiGs can't get close enough to deal damage to the cryocopters.
And remember what I was telling you about, that if anybody were to expand, Dimon would take the top left?
His MCV, a very good point. Messican with the excellent predictions coming out.
But I don't know if Vindies is just going to stay in his main base or maybe send something to expand to the C-Refs.
Yeah, of course, if he moves his MCV, he suddenly loses that Tier 2. He does have a spy in this IFV, so he's going to be potentially looking to make use of that a little bit later. IFV is going to be trying to run anti-air defense against these twin blades, but the MiGs are here for support. This Apollo is going to have to be careful.
And he was able to take out one of Vindies' harvesters.
Yeah, he cleaned up the one, but in the middle of the map, Dimon steps forward. He's trying to potentially go for the crush, ends up just trading out a couple of hammer tanks against a couple of Guardian tanks as this Terror Drone going to be locking down the hammer tanks one by one while the Tesla Troopers tear through a lot of the forces, although one of these Tesla Troopers is a spy.
Yeah, I was about to tell you that right now. Do you see the spy?
I was wondering why that Tesla Trooper was just kind of hanging around Vindies' forces and not doing anything, but I guess it makes sense now. So Dimon is soon going to be on that 4 refinery.
Yep.
What's kind of his next step from here? Because he's got some forces, but he doesn't. Does he actually have enough to kill off Vindies?
I don't think so.
He can certainly try to press forward. Vindies donates an IFV to the Dimon Kill Allies Fund, but yeah, with these cryocopters, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, and
oh, the spy grabs 2 of the hammer tanks, which is nice.
It's gonna happen. He loves doing that.
He gets a crush as well, getting even more value for these hammer tanks. He should be able to kill off this one hammer tank of Dimon's, but already that's going to be an all-right trade for Vindies.
Definitely, and he just killed those bears.
Oh, Vindies. Managing to pull good engagements, sometimes out of almost nowhere. He still maintains the 3 cryocopters as well. And yeah, I mean, he spent $1,000 and he got he got $2,000 worth of tanks. Killed a couple of, he crushed one hammer tank of his opponent and killed a couple of bears as well, so definitely worth it. Now, there are 2 more spies still in this army. MiGs trying to engage against the cryocopters. They clean up one of the, well, they clean up one of the Vindicators, but still a lot of the allied force does remain.
It looks like he's able to kill all 3 of them.
And the bears have pretty much all been eliminated, and now it's down to Dimon to snipe down the spies. Very nice control there. Is able to clean up all of the spies, and two of the twin blades will escape. Oh, he donates away one, and the second Bullfrog does go down. Very needless control there from Dimon, giving those units away.
But let's not forget that now he's on 5 rests.
An excellent point as he crushes forward and takes down a couple more Javelin Troopers. Some of those were pretty heavily veteran as well, all the way up to Heroic. And now Vindies does have this civilian structure, but it's being taken down by these hammer tanks. And actually, he may end up killing one of the hammer tanks. A bit unfortunate there for Dimon.
And Vindies has no units besides 3 Apollos and 1 Jab and PK, from what it looks like.
And with superior economy and now a whole lot more units, Dimon should be able to crush on through to victory. I don't know that it's...
That's what it looks like. Unless Vindies has some epic defense.
He's gonna need a miracle defense for sure. The barracks does get sold off as satellites do come crashing down. Now, one of the hammer tanks goes down, but even the Javelin Trooper gets cleaned up by the bears.
Yep.
I guess the main weak point of the army is, again, there's not a lot of anti-air, and with this Mirage tank, it may be able to snipe down the Bullfrog.
Yeah, I was going to say he's tier 3, but he only has that unit.
So if Dimon isn't careful about how he engages, this Cryocopter Mirage tank combination could do a lot of work. 2 Bullfrogs coming onto the front line, as well as the MiGs going to be able to target down. No, they don't target down because of the Apollos. The Apollos step forward, are able to clean up a fair number of those MiGs and at least force them away, which is the important thing.
But it looks like he's about to lose that hammer. Oh, the Mirage. Ooh.
And it goes Heroic into one of the hammer tanks. One of the hammer tanks also picks up the Mirage beam cannon. Is going to... Well, it just gets cleaned up by the Vindicator.
Yeah, but now it looks like... Oh, possibly... No, never mind. I was going to say, I thought those MiGs were going to take out the Cryo, but then the Apollos came and scared him away.
I mean, Apollos are good as long as you're not taking splash damage from the MiGs, and with one of the Apollos being Heroic, just gives it that much more power. The nice thing is the Crusher Crane from Dimon. Ooh, one of the MiGs gets sniped down very quickly. Bullfrog comes in to do a bit of damage, and Vindies, he is looking pretty far down, but he's not out of it just yet.
Not yet, no.
He is tier 3. He's got an Athena cannon out, and, I mean, we've seen Athena cannons work some pretty serious magic.
Oh yeah, Athena Cannon's pretty good.
Athena Cannon, good unit. Seems appropriate. I don't think we actually have tier 3 coming out of Dimon, so I mean, there's no V4s.
No, I don't see anything that would give us a hint that he's going for tier 3.
Kind of strange. I mean, Soviet tier 3 can have trouble against cryocopters, but I feel like this situation would be alright for Dimon to go tier 3.
I think he should just stick to spamming what he has right now.
All right. We'll see. I mean, against the spies, he does have, I believe, some bears. No, he actually doesn't have any bears. It's just a couple of flak troopers and conscripts. Now, as you were saying, spamming out tier 2 may be the option. A couple of Mirage tanks eat up a couple of the hammer tanks, and these infantry are going to be taking some pretty serious damage. Now, spies are still out here, but they're not on the front lines, and the Cryoblast is going to be firing off, forcing a very awkward engagement as the Bullfrog hammer tank and a lot of infantry getting cleaned up basically for free.
That was a great cryo shot.
That was a money cryo shot. A lot of times, the value of the cryo shot is not actually in doing direct freezing damage to the units, but it's in forcing awkward engagements or forcing your opponents to split away from them. In this case, the MiG's going to be taking down one of the Apollos, but the rest of the MiGs do get eliminated, and now this Twin Blade is completely exposed.
And he was able to kill one Harvester, that's it.
And he traded like 4 MiGs and a Twin Blade. Like 5,000 or 6,000 credits worth of units for that 1,000 credit Harvester.
Yeah, that was a very bad microing on Diamond's part.
Yeah, he pretty much just sat there and let it happen. He's been spamming out a lot of hammer tanks, as you suggested. My only kind of worry is if he's not careful about, if he doesn't like pack along any dogs, he could take quite a bit of damage from the spy that's inside of the IFV.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he has a bear, but if he doesn't scout that spy, and if Vindies shrinks that IFV and does it again, it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, we're coming down to just a few last moments now. As Messican was talking about, Dimon has been ahead economy-wise for quite some time. Vindies does split off a single Mirage tank to the top left corner because he does know about that base now. But now, in the middle of the map, first Terror Drone does go down as this Vindicator is taking a bit of damage from the Flag Troopers, but there it is once again. Hammer Tank splitting against the Spy, but it's not good enough, and now Dimon is just shattered.
Oh, man. And what did we say? That Spy was going to make some difference.
And on top of that, his Twin Blade up in the top left corner is going to be able to deal with the Mirage tank, so at least Dimon will maintain that economic advantage, but he has to deal with this army from Vindies.
True.
That's the problem. With artillery, Vindies can, of course, just sit back and pick away at the army of his opponent. Mirage tanks going to be doing some nice damage. He needs to be careful to pull back his army so that he doesn't lose those very expensive Mirage tanks.
Yeah, and he still has the Spy IFV. Don't forget about that. It's Star now.
Wow, yeah, went fully heroic. It is going to be stepping a little bit too close to that Hammer Tank for comfort. Vindies does have a lot of DPS in his army. 2 Hammer Tanks, 2 Mirage Tanks, and of course Javelin Troopers will help him shred through the vehicles of his opponent.
Yeah.
The refinery getting targeted down. Vindies eating away at that economic advantage that Dimon has had, but there's the crushes coming in for the Hammer Tanks. 1 Terror Drone does get an effect for Vindies, although the Hammer Tanks from Dimon are starting to be pushed away, and Vindies still has a Mirage and 2 Athenas.
And he also has that Spy IFV.
That's very true. That can be used in a pinch if he needs it. This Twin Blade going to be putting out a little bit of damage, a little bit of hurt onto Vindies' units. And this Hammer Tank, it's double vet. It's an elite Hammer Tank for Vindies. Of course, one of the ones that he stole with the Spy. The IFV almost going down. It gets eliminated. Aegis Shield is good, but it's not that good. Oh, the Terror Drone that spawned out of that Hammer Tank didn't get an infect either. Now
and
these
he just killed the Super Reactor too.
Vindies, has he completely turned this away? And he's like, Dimon, I lost 5v3 refs. GG, well played, and Dimon will fall to the boss, the absolute boss. Vindies, what games?
That was a very impressive comeback.
That was, and it came down to just a couple of key moments. Of course, he played defensive. He was able to utilize those spies very well. And, I mean, in the end, Dimon, with the economic advantage, I mean, if we take a look at the resources graph, he was outstripping Vindies after about the 9-minute mark.
Yeah, and, I mean, we would have thought just with that 5 versus 3 refs, the number of units Diamond should have had would have outnumbered Vindies.
I guess one of the things that we could have checked to see if Dimon was macroing very well, I never actually checked his resources to see if he was floating. Because if he was floating, you know, 5K or something, that's a bit of a problem. Any final thoughts on this series?
You know, I thought it was actually going to come down to the final game. I thought we were about to be tied 3-3, and that Allies micro always makes a difference, whether it be cryo shots, cryocopters, tier 3 microing. Basically, what won the game was Vindies micro.
Yep. I'm not quite comfortable calling that cryo shot micro, but all of the other things that Vindies was doing was indeed some very nice micro, some very nice control. A GG, well played to both of these guys. Dimon almost taking it to that last game, as you mentioned. I personally was expecting to see Dimon take it to Game 7, and it almost looked like Dimon might be able to just stand up to Vindies and knock him down, but unfortunately not. Any final thoughts or shout-outs?
No, not at all. Just I hope you guys enjoyed our little stream, co-stream for the first time with Sybert and Messi.
Indeed.
And it was a pleasure to do the stream with you.
I enjoyed it as well. I always like having someone who can actually bring a little bit of analysis and game knowledge.
I mean, I have a little bit of Soviet bias, but don't let that affect anything.
I thought you did very well overall. Again, you know, not too much mates bias, not too much Soviet bias. Well balanced overall. But that will do it. Thank you very much for joining me, Messican. And of course, if you guys want to check him out, if you guys are watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description, his information, at least a link to his Twitch stream. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And this is Sybert signing out.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we'll be bringing you some future tournaments, co-streaming. We'll wait and see what happens.